Hi everyone, this is our lesson 6 within the course Violin for Beginners. And within this lesson I will show you how to place your fingers on string D, and also I will teach you how to recognize them on your music stuff. Alright, the same thing as we did last lesson when we learned with you how to play on our string A. You don't need your bow. You're gonna use your pizzicato, you're gonna use your bare hand to produce sound while your left hand is practicing to press notes on string D. I don't want to overtire you and exhaust you by using both of your hands, and on top of that, as I already mentioned to you last lesson, it is known by my experience that it gives much more result if you practice each hand separately at the beginning, and after, when you feel comfortable enough to use them, to use each of them separately, so then you can try to link them together, and you will see the result will be actually very good. Okay, so the same thing about our marks. So you need to, don't forget to mark your fingers, tips of your fingers, to make sure that you're placing them correctly. Also, our C major scale, where you have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and on this lesson, because we're learning string D, we're gonna have to start from D, that is open string. E will be your first finger, F will be your second finger, G third, and A will be fourth. You probably notice that we have A as an open string on A string, and we have A as a fourth finger on string D. Those are two exactly the same notes. So if I show them to you on the music stuff, they will look exactly the same. So D sitting under the D sitting under all lines, E is sitting on the first line, F sitting in your first space, G is sitting on your second line, and A exactly the same as your A, open A on A string, is sitting on your second space. So don't forget to write numbers in front of your lines, the same as your spaces, to make sure that you are not getting confused, because at the beginning it might be confusing. So your D, it will be open string, therefore it's 0. Your E is going to be first finger, your F, it is second finger, your G, third finger, and your A is fourth finger. So or this A can be open string as well if you're playing on the string A. So if you see note that is placed under your first line, that's always going to be D. If your note is sitting on first line, as you can see here, it's always E, first space it's always F, second line it's always G, and second space it's always A. It just usually it is specified in your music score which one you should play, if it's a fourth finger or it is open string. So as usually if song is being played on string D and we are not going to move on string A and play some other notes beside A on string A, so then this A will be played by fourth finger. And if for example you're playing on D string and after A it's kind of like note that is helping us to move to string A, so then that A will be open string. But you shouldn't be stressing about that, because at least until intermediate level, all those marks are given to you in music sheet, and it is specified which finger or open string you should be using for note A. All right, so take your violin, make sure that you're feeling comfortable. Your hand is very, very stress-free and nice, very natural position. Imagine that you're asking someone to put a coin here. That's always something what I'm saying to my students. It just makes life so much more easier. There are two ways to place your hand. So first way is when your wrist is straight here, and second way when it's a little bit bent. For beginners, for students that just started to learn violin, it's usually I'm using this position because it's much more easier, and it's actually helping you to feel comfortable when you're pressing notes. And on top of that, it's not as tiring for your arm, and this is the main thing for beginner. Do not overtire your arm, to make sure that you can press your notes. And after, a little bit later, if you feel like changing position, because for example, when you're starting to use your vibrato, so then you need to kind of specific type of vibrato. When you're using your arm, it's much more easier to do that vibrato when your wrist is straight. But there's another type of vibrato when you're using your wrist, and it's actually main part of vibrato. So then you need to have the same position as I'm suggesting for you to have right now. So make sure that it's just resting, that is soft, and place it like this, and it also will help you to have this perfect position of your fingers. And this is very important, more important than your wrist. Just only one thing, make sure that you are not touching here, so it should be a small gap. If you're touching here, it means that this is wrong position. Yeah, so make sure that small space is here. You still can have this type of position, but make sure that you're not touching the violin, because it is a very big mistake. So eventually, when we'll start to move to different position in our intermediate level, so you won't be able to do so, because it's already blocked here. So it's kind of gonna block your way to further positions. Okay, so your hand is resting. Your position is selected. You place your hand here. Also, when we were playing on A string, your elbow, it should be right underneath the violin. When we move into your D string, to make sure that the position of our fingers remains the same, because it's much easier when position of your fingers is the same on each string, so it's kind of saving you from a big headache afterwards. We need to adjust position of your elbow a little bit. So for A string, it's normal, it's right underneath the violin. For your D string, you need to move it a little bit kind of out of the violin, kind of like move it a little bit forward, not too much, because you're gonna feel very big restraint and pain in your elbow. All right, so you move your elbow, your fingers are above a string D. Make sure they're not above the string A or E, because then you're gonna need to make an extra effort stretching them, and it's gonna give you pain here in your wrist. So make sure that your fingers are in correct position and they are above string A. So again, our pizzicato 2, and we're playing D, E, D, E, E, F, E, F. The same, you can see the space between first and second finger is wide. It's kind of like 1 centimeter or 1 finger apart. F, G, second and third fingers, they are together. Exactly the same position as we were using for A string. Make sure that you follow this position, because all songs for beginners are written in this position. It's just the most comfortable for beginners. That's why those composers who were writing practicing materials for children and for beginners, they were using this positioning to make sure that it's not as difficult to start as it can be for children. Okay, so F, G, F, G, G, A, G, A, B, A, G, A, G, G, F, G, F, F, E, F, E, E, D, E, D. Don't forget to hold your fingers above the string, as is something what we were talking about a lesson when we were learning notes on string A. The same story here. Your fingers need to be above the string all the time. Okay, and our second exercise. D, E, D, E, piano, piano, D, F, D, F, increase, crescendo, more crescendo, more crescendo, decrease, diminuendo, going towards, piano. All right, this is it. So this is your exercise for string D, and actually it's again 3 of them. So you need to practice to place your fingers above the string D. Make sure to turn your elbow. Make sure to keep your fingers very organized, and whenever you take your finger off the string, make sure that it's remain in the same position above the string. There's no hiding, no rolling them down, no sticking them somewhere on the side. It's gonna be difficult, but it's something what you should do. And also try to implement those dynamics we were talking about in our lesson for string A. It's as I mentioned before, it's gonna make your performance a little bit more colorful. And make sure that you learn the position of your notes on string D, and it shouldn't be that difficult if you get the idea, if you understand why they're placed on music stuff the way they place. So it means that you will be able to recognize your notes on G string and on E string as easy as you can do it on string D and string A. Also, if you feel confused, or if you feel like you don't understand why our notes organize on stuff in this particular way, or you have any other questions, you are please welcome to write me a message in the chat. On top of that, you're also welcome to write me if you would like me to send you those PDF music worksheets with exercises and little short songs to make sure that you can practice to play on string D, and you can practice recognizing your notes in music sheet. The same as for string A, it's just a matter of practicing, and if you will play as many of them as you can, where your notes placed not in exact order as I wrote here, but they place in random order, they mixed and matched, so it's gonna just improve your ability to read music sheet. Thank you for watching our lesson 6, and I will see you in our lesson 7.